Okay. All right, this is our video on chapter 8 for actions number 4 and 5. I don't know. I guess.
So the first question from chapter 7, it's about engaging for energy and focus. It says, what are the biggest challenges you face when it comes to eliciting appropriate levels of energy and focus from your students? One of the biggest challenges I find with teaching is choosing what to use my energy on, I guess. The more practice I get teaching, the better I get at directing my energy and focusing on what really matters. Also, learning to manage the energy so that the students feed off each other rather than me trying to provide the energy the whole time. What do you guys think?
You can go, Ashley. For me, one of the biggest challenges I find is making sure that the students have that they're have the energy during all the subjects that I teach. During science, they like language arts and stuff, but when it comes to math, a lot of them they just have no energy, and I don't know if it's from it's right after lunch, so maybe it's from that, but also they're just not as engaged right now, and it's a lot of calling on individual people who are paying attention to make sure they're staying engaged and making sure people aren't messing with stuff in their desks. So
I kind of have the same thing in my class too.
I guess it's I can elicit energy enough it's getting focused. So and it's all throughout the day.
Yeah, I said that making sure that their energy is being used at the right time in the right way, because it's hard to get the balance between energy and focus. So Maddie said, they usually always have energy, but trying to make sure they have focus and then they use the energy correctly can be tricky.
Yeah, because otherwise they're just running wild.
Right.
So I guess that could lead us into the second question. For what percentage of class time do your students create the energy levels, and for what time do we orchestrate the energy levels? And do you see now the classroom energy has something that you have more control over? What do you guys think?
Like I said before, they are pretty much really energetic about things. They get excited about things a lot pretty easily on their own. So I don't think I have to try too hard to orchestrate that. But getting more control over that would be nice.
Yeah, I guess just orchestrating them to choose their what to use their energy on, because they can get really off task really fast. So I guess just
kind of redirecting it.
Yeah, keeping them focused and excited about learning, which is kind of difficult, but I feel like I'm getting more of a hang of it.
I feel like also it's kind of the way that you introduce lessons and stuff too. Whenever I taught my science lesson, I feel like the way I introduced it was really engaging for them, and they really got excited about it quickly. Whereas for something math or kind of your standard content areas that you do every single day, and it's the same routine every day, it's a little bit harder. So
But
I don't know, what are you gonna say?
it kind of reminds me of what we're learning in Marlette's class about different ways to present lessons and stuff. And I know he's really talking about science whenever we're talking in that class, but we could use that lesson.
Yeah.
Even though math is boring, we can pretend that it's not. The kids think, oh, okay, well, she thinks it's cool, so maybe it's cool.
Yeah, I know. I really my CT does a really good job at that. Because he actually really likes math in general, but he does a really good job at making it interesting and adding in jokes and stuff. So I really want to practice that more, because whenever he does it, he also makes sure they're engaged, because if not, then there's consequences for if they're off task. He'll punch their respect cards and stuff, but he also just keeps them engaged a little bit more naturally by doing fun things.
And I was going to say, because how the question asks for what percentage of class time do your students create the energy level, I was going to give it an exact percentage. I would probably say 30%, because I think of different probably at the beginning of the day, and maybe once you're kind of getting close to lunch where the kids start kind of losing focus, and right after lunch is times you can get their energy level up. I know in my class at the beginning of it, when they walk in the morning, we play music to kind of get them a little pumped up for class. So we're using that to create their energy level, make it higher, and then closer to lunch, right before they start their writing for like the last hour, we try to like incorporate a video or something just to get them up and moving. So like they're not just sitting in a chair, so their energy level goes back up. And then after that, right before we start math after lunch, and they come in from recess, so they already have some energy, but we try to like direct it into like classroom friendly energy by like just letting them either walk around the room and talk to friends or whatever for a few minutes, but just kind of get them back on the right kind of energy level for the classroom.
Yeah.
I think that's perfect, and that actually perfectly moves us into the next question. It says this chapter offers several strategies to enhance student focus. Which ones have you already tried, and which fresh ones might you try in your own classroom? If we go and look at the notes, there's some notes that we took in, solutions that we can use. You can use technology. That's kind of a big one to like this learning and.
I have something pulled up if I can share with you guys. Okay. Let's see.
Show us what
Here we go. Do you see it?
Yes.
Okay, so it says obviously include physical activity. We do that. We do like breaks. We have them stand up sometimes, stretch stuff. I do it more than my CT does actually, because I feel like it's really important. I do that in class even. Have attention breaks, adjust time frames, remove visual distraction. This is a big one because I have 2 to 3 students, one in particular, he's so off task. I think he needs like actual help with it, but so just removing those so that they pay attention more. Memory games, this would be really cool to use. I have not had that. Have you guys?
Well, describing as a focus for kids in a fun way.
I did read.
Feel like what's that called? Around the world with math and stuff. That kind of for them memorizing their multiplication games, which gets them up and out of their seats. But I don't know if that's really what it's referring to.
Marlette gave us an article to read like a week or 2 ago, and one of them it was like a vocabulary strategy on how it's just another way to remember vocab words, and you like act it out or something. So I don't know if that would go with that.
Probably, yeah.
When I was in like grade school, it was in like 3rd grade, my teacher would do that. Like it was kind of as like a little bit of a brain break. Like we would play I Spy. Because we were in like these trailers, so it was a really small classroom, and like we like in between different subjects, she would do that. She'd pick something random in the room, and we'd all have to. She'd give us clues, and we'd have to try to guess it. Just as like I don't know, a way to break up the class, but then also kind of was like it really engaged everybody because it was like a fun thing, and it kind of helped with the attention. I feel like. So I don't know. I haven't done it though, but it'd be kind of fun to do.
Right? Do you already consistently use music in your teaching? If so, how well does it work? After reading this chapter, can you think of some ways to use it more purposefully and effectively?
Well, kind of like how I mentioned, we use it as a warm-up in the morning. But as far as like music during the day, I know like for me, especially when I was younger, it was harder for me to focus on work like when certain music was playing. So I think you have to be kind of sensitive and figure out if there's students that distracts, and whether you should give them like the noise canceling headphones if you want to play music for everyone else or something like that. Because I think it's a good way to get the students like energy flow going, but at the same time it could be distracting to some other kids.
Back?
Oh, go ahead.
In my like 8th grade year or something, we had a science fair project, and one of the students in my class did a research thing about what music helps what kids study. And classical music actually, and I've listened to that. That really draws focus and stuff, so that would maybe work.
Right, and I've also heard using like movie scores too. So it's like songs that are maybe even a little more upbeat. So that gets like I don't know, brain. Right, but there's not words to it. And then also a little fun fact: using songs in a different language because it's more upbeat and stuff like that, but they don't really know what the words are saying, so they're not going to stop and start singing it because it's a different language.
That's true, because like in my in a class in high school, my teacher, it was just like a typing class, so it didn't require a whole lot of like attention as like a whole group, but she'd play music, but she'd play like current music that like was played on the radio, so I couldn't even focus because I'd be like listening to the song. So I feel like playing either songs that are either have no words, just like instrumental songs, or it's something that like young kids know. Like if you play a song in Spanish or something.
Spanish is very upbeat.
Yeah, like and like having like not a super slow like.
Or like jazzy music might be cool too.
Right.
Yeah, like I feel like you can really set the tone of your classroom with the music. Like if you want them to be really mellow and calm, you can play more mellow songs. If you want them to be like really hyped up, you can play like super upbeat songs with different like percussion and different things like that. So I feel like it's a good tool, but I haven't used it yet.
I was gonna say, I don't think I've ever been in a classroom that ever used it. That's really nice information to know, except for like when we do go.
Yeah.
Plus, I think if you're going to use music, and not necessarily like the Go Noodle ones, but like actual music, if you're going to use them, it has to be either very consistently used, like all the time, or not. Because if you just like randomly play it, like once every 2 weeks, then the kids aren't going to focus because they're like, ooh, there's music on, like, you know what I mean? Like, they're going to be distracted with that rather than, but if like they're used to being like a background noise all the time, it's not going to be distracting.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Are we ready to go on to chapter 8?
Yeah.
How to automate engagement. To what extent do you use social support to manage student behavior and boost academic progress? How can you better foster collaboration and cooperation in your class?
So social supports, what do you guys think they mean by social supports necessarily when they say that?
I feel like I don't know if it's right, but the way I took it when I read it was like support like amongst your peers and like having like a good like classroom environment amongst the other students, because like I feel like it's like it can be hard for some students to learn if they are in a classroom with a bunch of people they don't get along with or they don't have a lot of friends. Like it's easier to work whenever you're in like a good collaborative type of classroom.
Yeah, like just have good connections in the class. Like I know there's some classes I've been in where they pair like a lower student with a higher student, and like certain assignments are just like, okay, get with your buddy, and they know to go work with them. So I think that could be a good example of social support to boost academic progress.
Yeah, and excuse me, in my classroom, they at the end of the day they put out their agendas and they have an agenda buddy. So they go and check their agendas, and my teacher paired them with like there's certain kids. Like there's a kid in my class who has autism, and so he paired that kid with another kid who is like a little bit more like competent to be able to kind of really like step in and take care of that student. Like when they meet with their agenda buddies, that's the student who's paired with the student who has autism, he really like he goes through the agenda, makes sure he has everything. He helps the student pull out his papers that he needs because the kid has problems with organization, so he makes sure that he has all his papers he got during the day in his right folder. So I feel like that's a good way to manage student behavior, because with that student helps the student with autism, it really makes sure like it helps him be organized, and that ultimately helps with his academics and everything.
So yeah, that's a good example of helping with both too.
Yeah, because like otherwise he never like sometimes he doesn't turn in homework because he loses it because he like when students get away from his jams in his desk, he doesn't put it in his actual folder. So by having that kid paired with him who is a little more organized and is on top of things and is able to, I feel like it's also important to, if you're doing that, you need to pair the kids with, like if you have a kid who is, you want them to help another student, you have to pick a kid who is like able to do things for themselves, but also like have the responsibility of helping another kid. Like you can't have a kid who's not responsible enough.
Yeah, because they can't like not do their own work and be worried about helping another student.
Yeah. Does anyone else have anything to say about that?
We don't usually.
Just I have kind of the same thing. I mean, like they don't like check each other's notebooks or anything, but the kid that his focus is lost a lot, we put this kid Noah, who's like the teacher's pet, he's always willing to help. We put him right next to him so that he's not distracted. Noah kind of keeps him on task, you know. So I guess that is that too.
Yeah, I feel like it's like really important to know your students and know kind of their strengths and weaknesses when doing stuff like that. Like I feel like after the first few weeks of school, when you kind of get to see how the kids interact with each other and like the way that they operate, that you can kind of really start to do things like that.
Yeah.
So the next question for chapter 8 is, what is the distinction among rituals, rules, and procedures? How can rituals enable you to better manage the energy of your classroom and accomplish routines smoothly? List 2 or 3 rituals you want to try in your own classroom, either taken from this chapter, or created on your own to meet specific needs.
I know we have a lot of rituals, rules. They have like the same rules that go throughout the entire school, and I think the whole district, I believe. I don't know, but it's so by the time they get to the grades, they know these rules. So the teacher takes the first week of school, and my teacher will say things like, rule number 2, and the entire class all at once will go, raise your hand for permission to speak. So when they're not all, when everyone's talking and not paying attention or as they should be, they'll all stop talking and do that. And it's really nice. That really manages the energy like that.
And if they know that already, they're going to be way more like self-accountable because they're going to know, oh crud, I just like broke rule 3,
Exactly.
like that. So
I was on Scholastic the other day. I'm going to share something with you guys again. And it's just such simple like rituals or whatever, like just good mornings, you know? I've seen on Facebook a lot of different good morning things that teachers do. I just saw one the other day, and she stands outside of the classroom door, and they get to like pick or get a hug, or like they get to dance with her, like a high five or a fist bump or nothing if they want. And it's just like, I don't know. Are you guys allowed to scroll on this thing, or is it just
no, just you.
All right.
Yeah, my one teacher when I was in Caseyville, every single morning she would go pick up the kids from like when I was there it was warm out, so they would line up outside, and she'd go pick them up, and then she'd stand at her door and she'd shake each person's hand as they walked in. Either shake, or if you want to do a fist bump you can, but she'd say good morning to every student, or the students who were primarily like Spanish speaking, she would say good morning in Spanish. So like I feel like having things like that the kids can, they know what to expect when they walk in, and like the placement I'm in now, they know to make their lunch choice and everything. So like having things like that really, I feel like, especially for younger grades, like maybe not as much in like high school and like upper education, like you don't really need as many routines, but I feel like, I don't know, I feel like it just helps the classroom run better. You have routines and rituals and procedures and stuff that you follow that are consistent.
Last year, whenever I was in East St. Louis, it wasn't even my corporate teacher's term I was in. It was this other lady, and she was like this really independent teacher. And one thing that she did, they would all go to the social circle. I just kind of like circle, whatever, and they would practice dip counting, and she would snap every time the whole team would go like 2, 4, 6, 8, and then they would go through 2s, and then they would do their 3s, and then they would do their 4s, and they were in 2nd grade, and like, I feel like that was really helpful, and it will continue to be helpful whenever they learn multiplication, because my third graders right now, a lot of them struggle with just dip counting, and I'm like, something that would be so helpful. Maybe I should do that, but
Yeah, I feel like things, and it like kind of lets them be a little bit more social too, by like getting out of their desk, like their peers and everything, but also still like learning important things. Like even my 5th graders, there's a few students who really they know how to count by 2s and stuff, but they like don't really know like by 3s and 4s, like they really don't know their like multiplication facts. I feel like by stuff like that, having them just like it being ingrained in their mind would be really helpful.
yeah, and that goes with what we talked about earlier about like them getting out of the deeds, like moving and things like that.
Yeah.
So
I think if we were to choose one more question to talk about, I think one that's important, because sometimes it's like we look past it, it's just like making time to develop student leadership and teamwork. Because like when you look at the other questions, a lot of classes do like job roles and everything, and you know, obviously like all lessons are supposed to have engagement and stuff. So I want to know how you guys would make time to develop student leadership and teamwork in your class.
I'm in a 5th grade classroom, so I feel like by that age they're starting to get more independent, and they can kind of take on more leadership roles and everything. I don't know, like the things we do in my classroom are kind of like jobs. Like there's students who they know they're responsible. Like my teacher doesn't remind them at all. Like they know that they're responsible for taking this girl goes and takes the lunch count and she knows to take it out of the office. Like she doesn't even have to like my teacher doesn't have to ask and she doesn't have to ask to leave. She just knows that that's her job and like that's her role and she's a responsible kid anyway. So like she never forgets. And there's students who are in charge of changing the date and stuff. So I feel like especially when they get to older ages, you can have them start doing more like complex tasks and really like start taking responsibility for things in the classroom.
Yeah.
Mine was you guys were in younger classrooms. So.
What if like they did something like someone they was in charge of being like a nice person to everyone and they had to just like give everyone compliments and stuff? Like would that be
No, I mean,
it's a weird one, but I feel like
it'd be good and it would kind of I feel like it would work a little bit on teamwork too, like you're kind of developing like strong like social interactions a little bit. Like you're like really I don't know.
I know when I was in one of my classes, they did instead of jobs, they had a class in economy. So each of the classes, like people were given jobs, and I know a couple of them were like, I don't remember the exact word, but it was something like kind control or something. And so they were in charge of making sure that everyone was being kind to each other. And I mean, it wasn't their role to like
discipline necessarily.
but it was their job to make sure, like, that was something really kind you just said to so and so, like, nice work, like that.
I feel like that would be good.
I kind of like what Marlette had us do in his class, and we could like alter that and make it our own. But how whenever we got in a group, he gave us all tags or tags for what we were doing, what our job was, and make sure that the student it's rotated each time they're in a group, but it gives them time to focus on being the manager, that type of leadership role.
Yeah.
I was gonna, before we close out, I was gonna share one last article I just found. It's from Education World, so it's strategies for teaching students leadership skills, and it kind of gives a lot of good examples. It starts with like just saying like putting them in charge of certain things. Get them invested in improving school culture. So I think that's important. Like if you look, it talks about this I think is focused on a lot.
Yeah.
Stopping bullying, which is important, but I think there's also other things they can talk about, like trustworthiness and kindness in your classroom environment. It talks about inspiring your class to do their part in improving the culture of the school behavior, better reporting it, class reminding a lonely student to join the group at lunch, which that's like super simple things that, we talk about don't bully, but do we talk about how you can be a good leader and like reach out to people, making nice choices like inviting a lonely student or whatever. And it also talks about involve them in extracurricular activities. So that's something too we don't even think about. Like that's some way they can be a leader, like on a team or just like something like that, or math club or whatever like that. So
yeah, or I feel like a really good example of like a leadership kind of things is like student council too. Like I don't know if all schools have it, but my school has it in 5th grade, and there's 2 kids from my class that are in it. I think there's like a student from each 5th grade class in it. But I feel like that's a really good thing. Like they hold them more accountable and everything for things that are going on in the school. But yeah.
Did you guys read the last thing? It says give them space.
yeah, I don't know if you want to point that out.
Step up.
Oh my gosh.
But it says to allow them to struggle, fail, but support them.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's something
Important.
yeah.
Like there's just way more things that you can do to involve your students with leadership than just the simple things I think we think of now.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a good article.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Thanks for sharing.
did anybody have anything else they wanted to add at all?
No.
All right.
That was cool.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, Dr. Bushrow.
Bye.
Bye.